after my divorce, I was like, I'm traveling everywhere. I'm in Egypt, I'm in Dubai, now I'm in Bali, and now I'm in Trinidad, now I'm in St. Lucia, and now I'm DJing in Costa Rica. And I was like, for months. And then I came back to LA and I was like, I kind of just like want to just like stay at my house and ground. But I was like, but I'm free. I can live anywhere I want. Like, why would I do that? But I was like, but that's my genuine desire now. I don't want to, I love my inner bad bitch that's like, all over, but I just want to ground and have these conversations and have a routine and a fridge.
It's a great example.
And do my writing and stuff, even though it's like, I have the full potentiality to do it all. And I'm choosing this in this moment.
It's not because you're repressed. It's because it's true.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, it's so interesting because we think that, it's like, imagine you just got out of a jail, for example. It's like the first thing you're going to do is like whatever you couldn't do, you're just going to eat, you're going to whatever. And then it's like you're going to not create a new jail, but create a new cocoon and create a new nest. And I think there is something really natural in that like we need those ebbs and flows of the winters and the summers and the winters and the summers. And then we can have more micro expressions of it that like maybe this weekend we'll all get naked and howl at the moon and have that.
We might.
Then, we probably will. And then be able to have like a really inward week where you're just like really committed to your work and like loving doing that too. I think sometimes when you're not, like I ask people who are not living their dharmas, I'm like, if you could do anything you wanted and you won the lottery, what would you do? And they're like, I would just hang on a beach forever. And I'm like, would you really? Because even that beach would get boring after a while. So I feel like that's exactly what liberation is to choose. And choosing doesn't mean the most grandiose thing at the time, but to choose what actually feels like the right next step for you.
Yeah. Well said.
Yes. So many juicy tidbits to share. So if someone is listening right now and maybe they're feeling like, okay, I'm in this death and rebirth cycle, but I haven't allowed myself to fully die. I'm still holding on to the past relationship or the job or the thing. I'm so afraid of letting go. What advice do you have for them?
First of all, compassion, becoming aware, I would say, is the first step. Just be willing to become aware of where you are holding on and be honest with yourself about that. And then when you are honest with yourself about where you're actually holding on, that means you're speaking to a part of yourself that's afraid, because if you're holding on and in control, holding on, for example, to a relationship that it has expired and that's, that, and you have to fight to be in it and it's expired, there's a part of you that's terrified to experience the feelings on the other side of what that release would be and to go into the unknown, which may be the first time ever truly going into the unknown. I had a big breakup after a 4-year relationship where we built ourselves into a reality that was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful home in the Palisades, incredible community here, serving in a good way, both of us. Man, I thought I'd be with for the rest of my life. And then I started feeling stagnant and I held on for as long as I could and we laid it all out on the field. We did everything. And then we found out the house was being sold. And by the time we moved out of the house, we decided to each go to different countries, create separation for a month. And by the end of that month, we ended the relationship. And I found myself in a foreign country, no longer living in the city I had been in for 8 years, no longer knowing if I'd even be back with my huge community that I felt safe with. The relationship with the man I thought I'd be with for the rest of my life, over, had no idea what was next, and just on my knees in the jungle for the very first time, like, wow, And what happened in that moment is I made up a story, which in some way is true, that from my facilitator hat, so take what's true in this, right? That I had to know for the first time in my life that I could hold myself through that initiation. That I could, so I had a session with this somatic therapist during that time that a friend recommended to me. And my nervous system was like freaking out, even though on a higher level, brings us back to the higher self and then the body. On a higher level, I could see that, wow, this is going to be a reference point for me for the very first time of actually holding myself in a truly unknown place with heartbreak, with trauma coming up, and with awareness that I'm not going to numb, escape, run away from it. Like really, like I'm here for this. I'm choosing this. I had enough perspective and context at that point to recognize this was an initiatory energy that was creating a reference point for me to actually hold the work that I do with integrity for others to move through these life passages. And still, my body in that moment, freaking out, my nervous system, super like panic attacks, not able to, like in the jungle by myself, panic attack, like this heartbreak relationship, barely able to fully accept that. And this somatic therapist gets on with me, and I shared with her while I'm like, in tears, and I'm in the mind, I'm in the story and the theory of, I chose this and this is happening. It's going to amplify the work I'm doing with the dojo field. And I'm in the unknown, and this is I need to know that I don't need anything or anyone outside of myself to hold myself through this. I need to know. And she said, Zahara, the story you're telling me right now, like I feel you in the facilitation of it. And perhaps looking back retrospectively, you'll see that, which is what happened. And I feel really sad for the little girl in you right now that you're asking to white knuckle on the level of the body through this experience. This is really hard, what you're going through right now. This is a really big thing. And if you see, this is like developmental level stuff coming up where you feel mom and, like the masculine safety authority figure is not here, my partner, right? Like this is like developmental trauma coming up for you where you're feeling abandoned, you're feeling alone, nobody's there to support you, all those things. But it wasn't nobody was there to support me. It was that I had a story that I had to do it myself. So I wasn't open to the support. So in that moment, she said, if you see a baby in a bassinet or even a 3-year-old in a crib or a small bed, and that 3-year-old is crying, or a 1-year-old is losing their mind, or even bring it lower, younger, because this is like developmental trauma coming up, which it rings the bell of the whole line if you're about to release something that big. If you see a baby crying in a crib, you don't take away its pillow, take away its bottle, tell the mother to leave and say, you figure it out yourself. You say, oh my God, how can we make this more comfortable for you? This is a really big thing that you're feeling. That's a big feeling. You got this. Here's a bottle. Here's another blanket. Let's bring the mama's face over. And like, you don't have to do this by yourself, Zahara, like the 1-year-old in you. So maybe there is a reality where you doing this for yourself actually looks like creating a reality where you're receiving support. And that really landed for me. So what happened after that, as soon as I opened up my field, and I was like, wow, like I actually get to take care of myself deeply through this experience, which includes receiving support from others. That is me receiving support from myself. I walk into a coffee shop that day, and a dear brother of mine was sitting on his computer. I have this big house in the jungle in Costa Rica that I'm at by myself. And he's sitting on a computer looking at Airbnbs. He's like, whoa, Zahara. And we hadn't seen each other in a couple of years, but a good, dear brother. And he was also going through a breakup, and he's looking at Airbnbs on a computer to move into that day. And I was like, man, I have a spot. You should just come stay with me. And after that, it was like this windfall of support in every form coming in. And just, I was open to support in whatever form, whatever's the bottle for my 1-year-old, for my 10-year-old, for my 25-year-old, for my 35-year-old, whatever it is. It was just like one stepping stone after the next showing up. And that's where that trust in life began to build in a way that feels like it's integrated, where now I know when the next big ones, big initiatory arcs come, I trust and I know. So for the ones going through that right now that are holding on, they're like, wow, I just can't seem to let go. I'm too afraid. I'm at the edge of the precipice. And if I jump, I just don't have the reference point that the net will appear. I would say first, just be willing to know and be honest with yourself that that's where you are, and bring compassion to the fact that that is really scary. And compassion is the lubrication that a true evolutionary process needs to actually feel healing. We want to stretch, but we don't want to break a leg. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, then when you start to feel this environment of compassion, and no matter what, with yourself, no matter what, you could stay. I'm aware that I'm staying in this relationship longer than is true. And maybe I'm not ready. I need another month to just fully, thoroughly explore it. That's me stretching, but I'm not going to break a leg. And then life will continue to make it harder to stay as soon as you're honest with yourself. And then there'll come a time where you're going to be ready to let go. And it doesn't mean it's not going to be scary, But when you let go, that's where we start to find all the ways that we had needs that weren't met at any point in our life. They're going to come up, and we get to find the way to meet those needs for ourselves. And sometimes it doesn't look the way we think it's going to look. Meeting our own needs, sometimes doing it ourselves, having a backbone, doesn't always look like, I have to know I'm doing this for myself. I'm self-sourcing. This is all coming from inside. It's true. That's true. And your energy is an attraction field. We are relational beings. So what you need in a moment, it fluctuates. So can we just let any story go about what it looks like that you'll need, and just know that you're willing to give yourself whatever it is that you need when you jump off that ledge into the unknown, and life will support that process. But that reference point is a big one.